I was that art kid that everyone wanted to, like if there was an art project, everyone was like, oh, we have to work with Neeraja. Like we need to get her on our team.
No!
All hail the marshmallow god. To him we pray and nod.
Did we lose them?
I think so.
All right, Neeraja, welcome to the AGI, and we've been wanting to speak to you for a while. And we love your work. We are loving everything you're doing. But let's start at the beginning. We want you to tell our viewers a little bit more about you. Start from your journey, start from maybe your childhood or wherever you want to start from, and tell us a bit.
I kind of grew up in Jakarta and Dubai, like my early years, and I've always been interested in art and filmmaking and creating stories. So I think my passion started from a very early age, and now I do. Obviously, I'm a film director. I work in animation. I write. I'm a scriptwriter. I animate as well. So like I'm kind of doing everything that I've always kind of dreamed of doing. My parents were like, you know what? Okay, if you think you can do this, like go ahead. I was at NID for 4.5 years. So yeah, I really wanted to be in animation, and that was like I celebrated when I got into animation. I was like, yes, I finally got it. After graduating, I kind of got placement at Disney India, Mumbai, and I was working on like IP content. So I was instructed to form my own TV show and kind of work from scratch with new characters and like a completely new script entirely. And just like they gave me a brief and I worked off of that. And then I did that for like 8 months. And then I was like, oh, I want to kind of focus on stop motion because it was something that I was very intrigued by. I had dabbled in it while I was at NID. But then I was like, I got a job in Goa at Moffat Studios.
Okay.
And yes, yeah. And so I was there for like 4 or 5 months, and I was working on this Canadian TV show called Guardians Evolution.
Okay.
And while I was there, I was like, oh, I really enjoy this, but I want to direct my own film, my own stop motion film. I really wanted to do that. And then I started looking up like master's programs, and I kind of chanced upon the NFTS, and it's reputed as one of the best schools for studying directing animation. And so I was like, I'm going to apply, and like that was the only school that I applied to, and I got in, and the rest is history.
So when you were working with Disney, what sort of stories did you think of?
Yeah, so they had given me like a brief, and from that brief, I kind of had to develop it further. But I think a lot of the storyline that I'd come up with, it was quite wild, and I don't know if it was the perfect thing for Disney. Like I feel now in retrospect, when I look back, I'm like, it felt a bit more Cartoon Network than Disney.
Okay.
Just because it was about this character that lived in the inside the nose of a Easter Island statue, and he had like adventures inside the nose. Sometimes his nose would sneeze and he'd fall out, and it doesn't feel like Disney to me now looking.
Would you say you prefer stop motion to the 2D style of animation, or do you like doing all of it?
I would say that I enjoy doing all kinds of animation. The most recent film that I just finished working on is my first 3D film.
She Creates Change is a first of its kind series combining animation with live action. Animation can help us capture her inner struggles and who she ultimately wants to become.
So it's 3D, but it's made to look 2D because I kind of like I like that messiness and that human element of 2D animation, and just seeing that strokes on the paper. And sometimes I feel like that's lost with 3D. So if you've seen films like Paperman, for example, from the Disney short, that was very like influential to me, even as I was growing up. And I was like, wow, like you can do that with 3D animation. So I kind of wanted to try that, and now I've done it. I feel like I'm always experimenting and kind of expanding my vision of what animation could be. So I want to do immersive work at some point. I want to work in AR or VR. And so that's kind of the next thing that I'm like keeping an eye out for, I would say.
Is it true that when you are working abroad, they want you to be more specialized rather than like a generalist, like what you're doing, like you're exploring a lot of things? Do you ever find that challenging working outside India?
Oh, I feel like, I don't know if it's necessarily only outside India. I feel like a lot of the time, like even in film school or even in NID, like we were taught to kind of stick to a style. Like, what is your style? What is the style that represents you? And I don't think I agree with that necessarily. And I know a lot of people like go into that niche, and I know like niche is successful. But at the same time, I don't want to, in my opinion, like pigeonhole myself into like, oh, this creator or this artist that can only do this one thing. She can do this one thing, but she can do it perfectly. I'll be honest, while I was at the NFTS, like there was an instance where a tutor told me that you shouldn't do stop motion, you should do 2D because that's what you're good at. And then I said, but I want to do stop motion. Like I entered the school to make a stop motion film. And then they were like, yeah, but you weren't accepted because of your stop motion portfolio. You were accepted because of your... I was like, then why did I come to this school? Yeah. And so it's painful to hear something like that. But I'm glad I didn't listen to that. I'm glad I was like, you know what? You have your opinion, you can keep it, but I'm gonna continue doing what I want to do.
So tell us about your big achievement, the Golden Visa.
So yes, I got the Golden Visa, which is like a cultural visa that they've just started giving out to people in Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. And that was like, I think that was like monumental for me, because I never like thought I would ever reach a position where I would get something like that. Likewise, even in the UK, they have this thing called a Global Talent Visa. And so getting that also enabled me to be free in the sense of like living and working in this country without depending on a sponsor or a job. Correct. And as a creative and as an artist, obviously it's a little tough in the sense that you're kind of working from project to project, and especially I feel like when taking on the role of a film director, it's not always constant work. It's like you work on a project, and then there's times when you're like trying to figure out what's the next project you're going to work on. I think these visas, they're just been so beneficial to me to be able to live and work in these different countries without having to worry about somebody else like presiding over whether I get to stay in the country or not. Correct. Yeah. So I think it's been I'm grateful that these opportunities have opened up to, more people, and they're more I think art and culture, like people are giving more importance to it.
Breaking news, water has been found on Mars. Earlier today,
Wow, but nobody's thirsty there.
If only there could be clean water here in our village.
Discovering water on Mars.
What is your current role at Nexus Studio in London?
So I'm like contractually working with them in the sense that I am a director on their roster. So they have like a small list of directors that they only work with. And so when they get like projects, they view that list and they're like, who would this project be best suited for? And then we work together that way. So yeah, that's how it's been. Like I started working in 2020 with them. Yeah. And it's been like that.
Tell us what some of your challenges have been.
I think the first thing would be imposter syndrome. Yeah, I feel like I don't know if I don't think it's just the case for me. Like when I talk to more creatives and especially other women, it's a work in progress. I think I'm still like trying to figure out how to handle that side of myself because I know I've worked hard. I know I've done I've been very passionate about my creativity and my writing. It's just that just at times I'm like, oh my God, they're so cool. Like I'm not that cool.
Yeah, I think everybody goes through that, but yeah, like you totally deserve to be there. So absolutely no need for imposter syndrome. But yeah, like it's a lot of us I think struggle with that, right?
Yeah. I think another challenge would be in projects. Sometimes I find that it's a challenge to like consolidate the views of like different groups of people and also be a good friend in that process. Because obviously the people I work with are my friends. Not always, but like most of the time, like I try to work with people that I like and that I know are very passionate about what they do. So sometimes they have like different opinions and different views, and trying to like put all of them on the same page was a challenge for me. I feel like I've gotten much better at it now after some experience. I find it a little difficult to juggle multiple ideas and projects at the same time. Well, that would be considered another challenge, actually. I think it's just, I'm more of the type of person who's like, okay, there's this one project. I have to focus all my time and dedicate everything to this one project. But as I've stepped into the industry, I feel like it's almost been like a case of many spinning plates and trying to juggle all of it at the same time. Yeah, and it's obviously I'm still in the very early days of my career, and like I think I'll have more of a handle on it as I continue to climb up the career.
So what sort of stories would you say appeal to you as a filmmaker and a writer?
I think like I really enjoy films that are lighthearted and comedic. But at the other end, like I also do like horror. Like I do want to try and explore that genre and possibly like make something there. I find those stories very interesting because you kind of enter the human psyche. Yeah, I think you kind of explore what it really means to be human. And I just want to entertain people. I want to entertain people. I want to send a message with my films. Like even if it was just to like make people smile, like that would make my day. But if I could give a deeper message, that would also be cool.
What is your favorite of your own films? Which would you say is your absolute personal favorite?
I would say Meow or Never.
Okay.
I think I poured a lot of like blood, sweat, and tears into making that film. And I'm very happy with how it turned out. It was beyond my expectations.
Oh, 6. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. Yes, I've got it.
I was like, I want to make something that will make me laugh.
What is the meaning of life?
I gotta run, don't need no one. I think it's worth it as long as I
think I want to put into it things that I'm passionate about and things that I wonder about. So Meow or Never is a film about a cat that's an astronaut looking for the meaning of life in space. And so, yeah, I love cats. I love dogs. I love space. I love the unknown. So I was like, let's make a fun musical. I love music as well. So I was like, let's make a fun musical film about all of these things, and let's put everything I've got into it. And yeah, I have to say, like, my team is also amazing. Like, I couldn't have done it without them. Like, all of them are so talented in their own rights.
I mean, have you been following the Indian animation scene in these last few years? And if you have, what do you see as things that we need to bridge?
I think in the industry itself, like, I would love to see more original content. Like, now that streaming platforms are so much more open to taking material from all parts of the world, like, they know that there is a market for the kind of stories we want to tell. And so I think we need to tap into that more. You know, even for me, like, after graduating, like, I've lived in a variety of places. I've grown up in several places. So sometimes, like, I feel like I want to tell the stories that I grew up with, right? So I think that's also something that I'm consciously trying to take an effort in. But I also want to tap into my culture as well and, like, share stories from that. I think if more students and more people who are entering the animation industry, I think I would say go into the core of, like, who you are and try to tell stories from that you learned from life, because we're all students of life and earth.
Right.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on AI and specifically AI art?
I love this topic because for the longest time I was like, whenever, like, I was a child growing up and people were like, oh my god, like, are you really considering art as a career? And, like, it's not stable, blah blah. I would always be like, oh, someday robots are going to take over and your job is going to be obsolete and my job is, it's never the robots can't come for my job because they're not creative. And now I've been proven wrong. And I was like, oh my God, this is not fair. Like, why did, like, I was just like, I was in shock when DALL-E, like, came out, and the effects that it was having on illustrators and animators and artists everywhere. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, I think there need to be more, like, laws in place. Like, obviously the AI is developing so fast that the copyright laws have not even begun. At the same time, like, I know, like, despite technology, I know, like, we're always going to be valued, we're always going to be needed as artists. But at the same time, it's like, adapting to that, we need to come up with new rules. One, have copyright laws in place.
Right.
And two, also see it in a positive light as a tool that could help our creativity even further.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Tell us about some of your current projects that we should look forward to.
So I've worked with Artman as well the last year. It was this unannounced feature film. Gurinda Chadha was directing it.
Okay.
Yes. And obviously, like, I've looked up to her work, and I love Bend Like Beckham. I was, like, very excited about that. And I was working in a assistant director capacity, kind of like a trainee director. So, like, learning from, a director, but also working alongside them, being in storyboard meetings and doing script writing with them, and just going back and forth and just seeing how the project evolves from the concept to actual production. And yeah, it was amazing. Like, they have this thing called the Creative Council in Artman. So it's like a group of, like, creatives who sit and brainstorm together every other day. And it was very invigorating to be, like, a part of that group and just to learn from all these amazing people who are so good at what they do.
So tell us about Forbes 30 under 30. We still haven't spoken about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked. Like, I was just like, I never expect any of these things. But when it does happen, it's so nice to see that support and, like, that validation. And I think it's just nice for people who are not in my industry to see that Forbes, which is obviously a company that isn't necessarily in animation and covers a lot of different aspects, it's a business empire, and just hearing that they validated someone like me is nice, because then they see the efforts of my labor. And I know we shouldn't rely on like the validation of family members, but at the end of the day, it's nice. It's nice. It's like a little nice pat on the back. Yeah. So I like that aspect of it, and I also like that people are see the value in my work.
So, Neeraja, what do you do to unwind?
Oh, okay. I would say, so obviously I have friends from all over the world, and I think a lot of my friends are in India, a lot of them are in Dubai. So it's always nice to like catch up with them on video calls and kind of gossip about what's going on back home. That's a stress buster. I have a really lovely flatmate as well, who's my best friend from the NFTS, and it's always nice to catch up with him after the end of a long day. I think just hanging out with friends, playing video games occasionally, that also helps. Yeah.
What do you like eating?
What do I like eating? My mom's food.
Oh, sweet. Any parting thoughts for budding animators and, of course, people who look up to you?
Just be patient, enjoy the journey, and practice a lot. Go to like this is something that I learned in NID. Like I just go to coffee shops and sit and observe people and draw, and you can learn so much from observing people, and new characters will form in your head. And so I think I would say just keep like working on your craft, and like I don't know if you believe in the power of manifestation, but it's not that something that I've actively done, but I've always been like, oh, I'm gonna achieve this someday. It's just a matter of time. It's just being patient. Just keep working.
I do things much better on my own. I gotta run, don't need no one. I think it's worth it as long as I find